Hello to all our young people in Wesley College right now. Stuart Wilson here from Socialise Therapeutic Services. I hope you're all keeping well under what is the most bizarre set of circumstances I think that we've ever found ourselves in. Hope you're all well, hope you're all keeping safe. I've put together a little bit of a video and I hope this is okay just to try and assist and help us for those of you sitting the Leaving Cert. Obviously there's been such significant changes right now that now we're looking towards the marathon rather than a sprint towards the Leaving Cert, not in June, but in end of July, beginning of August. So first of all, I just wanted to start by saying I feel actually need to apologize to you because I think you've been put in an unreal set of circumstances and it actually feels like some really bizarre, strange social experiment to see if we can get the Leaving Cert across the line for you in the manner in which it's happened. So I'm really sorry that that's the situation that you find yourselves in. I don't think it's fair and I don't think it's an ideal outcome for anybody, but it is the outcome that we find ourselves in. And I want, if at all possible, to try and really support and help with any young people who are finding this difficult or the thoughts of this being extended until July difficult. There's a couple of things, I think even just at the moment with homeschooling and everything that's been done at home, it's very difficult to engage in the process of homeschooling in the way that we are. I'm just going to share my screen with you and hopefully you should see coming up in just a moment the first slide, which will be a slide just saying Socialise Therapeutic Services. And I want to start off by just saying that I'm really aware that so many of you have parents, grandparents, family members who are involved in the front line of assisting us as doctors or nurses or hospital care staff or catering staff, etc., or involved in the industries of supporting us like pharmacies and food chain at the moment. And I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's doing that because this is an unreal time. And I think we're all probably wondering how this is all going to pan out for ourselves. Homeschooling is not easy, it's difficult. And I also think at the moment I'm homeschooling 3 young children as well as 2 who are older. But homeschooling 3 young children at the moment is very, very interesting. I've suspended 2 of them already. I'm trying to get one of them out of my class currently, but it's not working too well. But there's a lot happening and it's happening at a fierce pace. So let me start off by just saying this. I just feel it's important at the moment that, you know what, this is not easy, this is difficult and it's unfair. And it's okay to have a good moan about it. My grandmother used to say that problem shared was a problem halved. And I actually fully agree with that, that this situation you are finding yourself in is difficult and is unfair. And it's okay to get that out of our systems, you know, to communicate about it, have a shout and a scream or whatever we need to do to moan about it. My wonderful daughter, who's 16 years of age, then said to me one time when I was moaning a little bit too much for her liking, then said to me, you know what, Dad, you need to cry a river. I love this picture of this lady crying and getting it out. Cry a river, Dad, build a bridge and get over it. And I thought that was really lovely, very caring and kind of her to try and assist me to then go from moaning into a little bit more kind of action. And this is the second part that I want to discuss for a moment, if that's okay. I think it's really difficult right now because your go-to people are probably in many cases also not available to you. I love the picture of the 2 teddies here saying sometimes you just need to know the people are there. And in some cases not to fix anything, but just to feel supported and cared for. And you're lean on people. I mean, who is that person for you now to go to? It could have changed because it might be that you can't socially connect. A young person was saying to me recently that even just a young guy about 16 was saying, even just the thing of being in school and, you know, shaking hands and shoulder bumping someone, you know, the physicality of that is gone. It's just so weird. And it is because that tends to be a lot of how, as young people, we get needs met to be able to lean on somebody. And maybe it's a teacher or perhaps it is a parent or a friend or a rugby coach or a hockey coach or somebody in music or drama, etc. And I think it's really important that we try and make sure that we are reaching out to people. Now, I don't mean go stalking new friends. What I do mean is this. It's really good to be able to almost reach out to some people, you know, tell them that you appreciate them and actually that you are going to need to lean on them a little bit more. So it's almost where you're putting yourself out there to be available for someone else and asking someone else to be available to you. And it sounds really cringy and weird for me to say this, but it's almost setting that up for yourself, setting that up so that you're creating that person for yourself and that they know that you're kind of the go-to person for them or for you. And a charity that I'm involved in for mental health says this, and I think it's a wonderful comment, you know, and it's okay to have days where you're simply not okay. And it's really okay to ask for help. We do a thing called the line where 0 to 10, I'm just asking somebody, where are you on that line? And to try and assist them sometimes to get up the line a little bit. So if 0 is I feel terrible, 10 is I feel amazing. And they say, well, I'm operating out of a 2 today. I'm finding today really, really hard. to be able to say, well, how can I help to get you up that line a little bit? What can I do? And it might be, well, thanks, just text me later. It means a lot. But reaching out to them really helps. So leaning on someone at the moment is not just a good idea, it's absolutely essential. And having someone to do that with, even if that's not always mum or dad, now maybe is a good time for you to try and make that mum or dad as well as your friends. I've put in here 3 and a few different points on 3. So we'll start with 3A if that's okay. And this is to use what works to help your stress and anxiety leading up to the Leaving Cert. So why have I written this in routine 3 times? Because routine is critically important for our mental health. In a time of great uncertainty, which we have right now, every day is uncertain the way things are currently. We need to create certainty. And certainty is created out of proper and good routine. So that sounds weird, but actually doing sometimes contrary to what we want to do. Maybe we want to pull the duvet over our head and stay in bed all day, but that doesn't create anything other than anxiety and stress. If we want to have good routine, it's kind of, I suggest getting up in the morning time. Just say going to school was getting up at 8 and being in school for 9, or getting up at 6:30 or 7. Add on an hour or an hour and a half because you're not commuting to school, but get up at a reasonable time to your day, 9, half 9, to start your day. And one thing I would always suggest is don't get up out of bed to start studying or to go to your work. Start your day with someone or something that gets you out of bed. So there's a reason to get up. Maybe it's a nice coffee. Maybe it's a coffee conversation on Zoom with a pal. Maybe it's a walk. Maybe it's a chat. But get yourself into a little, even maybe a little group online where you all get up in the morning, have a conversation at 9:15 or 9:30, and then starting into your day at 9:45 after a coffee. I also mentioned freshen yourself up and prepare to go to study. This sounds unusual, but going into study in our PJs, sitting around in a dressing gown or something, makes us feel a little bit unprepared and sloppy. It's almost freshen yourself up, get organized like you would do if you're going to school, and then go to your place of study. Routine must include scheduled social connection and fun time. Essential. Physical distancing. I have a big problem with the word social distancing, because actually I understand the logic of physical distancing, don't get me wrong, absolutely 2 meters, etc., incredibly important in current circumstances. But social distancing, if ever there was a time for social connection, it's now. But physical distancing, yes, we need to be careful. 3B, so what I mean here, establishing a study place. Now, if you've got a study place going and it's working for you, don't change it. Don't ever change anything that's working. Preferably, I would suggest it's not your own bedroom. If it's a part of your own bedroom, that's fine. But usually I try and say to young people, keep your bedroom separate to your study area, because your bedroom is your place of relaxation. And if you're looking at your study, thinking about what you want to do the next day, that can cause a little bit of mental health impact. So try and create a space that's well lit, that's clean and not cluttered, and that's your go-to place every day. And if you don't have a place to go to in a different room, that's fine. Use your bedroom or a kitchen or whatever, but make it tidy and organized for yourself to assist, if that makes sense. Now, this sounds so simple and basic that you kind of go, well, listen, you don't even need to mention that. But taking breaks is really important. Get away from your study and chill time. Put it away. Go and have time. Go and spend time with the dog, the cat, or the hamster. I don't suggest you do all 3 together, because that could create quite a lot of stress, not only for you, but probably for the hamster and the cat. Go for a walk, play music, read a book, chill out. Do whatever it is for you that works, that gets you away from study. Almost as important as study is break times, because the reality is your brain can only take so much in any given day. Really important as well to eat properly. And I mention this because, snacking on rubbish is really bad for you. It'll also create just lethargy in your way of doing things. This is a sprint, not a marathon. You need to look after yourself in the process between now and obviously heading in towards July. I've mentioned socialize and connect because it's just so critically important for your mental health. Hugely important is to connect with your family. Sitting around and communicating with your family is essential. You might not be able to physically see them, but things like grandparents who you can Zoom or connect with at the moment is essential. It's really important because you might even be worried about them at the moment. And I've said it again, to actually have a regular scheduled time, because it might be that you say, well, I do it every now and again or whatever. Do it regular so that your grandparents both know you're going to communicate with them, or a family member or an aunt or an uncle or somebody who you want to connect with. That it's regular and it's scheduled and it's in your diary, so you know it's there and you know it's coming. You can rely on that. Socially connect, physically disconnect, socially connect. I love this one, writing letters to people who matter and who you feel grateful for. One thing that I've loved recently has been that I've been receiving notes or letters from people, and obviously it's something that they're doing, and I started to do it myself. My daughter got a couple of letters from some pals of her recently, and a little gift in the post. 2 of them did actually, which was just lovely because it really lifted them up. There's nothing like something coming through the door that you know is for you because someone else cares about you. So be on the receiving end of that. That's lovely. But also for you to do it for other people. Write a few thank yous or a few notes, or even if it's just to the HSC staff who are doing such an extraordinary job. Be almost intentional and mindful about ways to socially connect. And I think that's hugely beneficial and really, really helps. I've written in here about exercise and why it's so essential. And I put in a picture of the brain. I really want us to understand this. We have put you in a really strange situation because for years, anyone who's ever listened to me before knows I talk regularly about the social impact and biological impact on the body of excess levels of screen time. And I am a cyber geek. I love cyber, so I'm not giving out about it. I only ever complain about the overuse of screen time. So what I'm talking about here is understanding the situation we're in and knowing what to do about it. So we have now gone from being roughly your age group spending about 5 hours of screens on day to at least doubling that, because now we're asking you to do school online, we're asking you to do social connections online, and then chill out by watching stuff online because you can't go out. So our amount of time that you're spending on screens is immense. Now look, that's the way it is currently, and it's difficult, but it does impact mental health. So we need to know what to do to counteract that, if that's okay. And I want to make some suggestions to you humbly to try them out, because you will feel a difference. So if we're getting, excess of 5 to 10 hours screen time a day, you need to know how to relax the central nervous system. In here being the part that produces emotions and feelings, that's the area that's in hypersensitivity. If I hold my fist up like this, it's like the reptilian part of the brain, which then extends into the central nervous system. The limbic system and the amygdala, which sits over that, is the part of the brain that gets into panic or sometimes can create strong emotions like anger. The cortex is the fully developed part of the brain, which is the rational thinking part, decision-making part, etc., etc. That isn't fully developed until our mid-20s. So when you're feeling anxious, afraid, upset, worried, we need to learn how to calm the central nervous system so that you can then go about routine of study and other things in your day. Now, the excess of screen time impacts the reptilian part of the brain. It impacts those parts of the brain that produce stress, because it produces cortisol in the brain, which then affects the central nervous system. Our cortisol levels go up and down in a day because our serotonin, now I'm making this very simplistic, but our serotonin, which is our moods, rise and fall with it. So when we're on stress, our cortisol is high, our mood comes down, our serotonin comes down. Now, I'm going to show you ways to counteract that, but in any given day, if you're spending 5 to 10 hours screen time, it increases your levels of cortisol because of the backlights on the screens. So science will say that will extend the cortisol production in our brains. So we need to know how to pull that down. So that can mean that you feel very stressed and your moods feel very low, and we need to pull that back up. Here's the thing, heading towards bed at nighttime is incredibly important for this, because if we're heading towards bed, our melatonin needs to rise. Your melatonin is your hormone for sleep patterns. Your melatonin will rise naturally with serotonin when your mood is right, but cortisol will impact melatonin, slow down the production, and sometimes potentially even halt it. So it means that when you have excess levels of screens, we need to know what to do to bring down the cortisol, increase the serotonin, and then the melatonin will rise with it. Otherwise, you're not getting the correct type of sleep every night. You might get your body exhaustion sleep, but you're not getting brain replenishment sleep, which is done in your deep sleep. And that's essential for a good study hygiene and good study longevity. So here's what I'm suggesting. And again, I'm humbly suggesting this. Forgive me if this is something you're saying, there's no way I can do this, but this will definitely help. For an hour and a half before bedtime, no screens at all. Now, TV or Kindles are not as bad because they don't have a backlight, but they don't produce serotonin. I'm going to give you 4 things that will help. The first is to get out for a gentle walk. When you walk and your cortisol levels are high, you pull down your cortisol levels and your serotonin level starts to rise. But as your serotonin is rising, your melatonin, if it's nighttime, is starting to rise with it. So a walk is brilliant. Talking face-to-face with another human being does exactly the same thing. So having a face-to-face conversation with somebody brings down your cortisol levels, increases your serotonin, and allows melatonin to rise. So ideally, walk and talk. Wonderful way to wind down towards bedtime. Now, reading is incredibly good, because if you've books or magazines beside your bed, it has a huge impact on, again, bring downing stress and allowing serotonin with melatonin to rise. Writing, for any of you who are into art, who enjoy painting or even doodling, it has a good impact. Why? It brings down stress, brings up serotonin and melatonin. And so writing is very beneficial. Now, this sounds unusual. Don't wake yourself up before you go to bed. So don't do things like showers or go out for really strong cardiovascular runs just before bedtime. That'll wake up your body and you'll find it hard to sleep. if you're at all like me, sometimes I'm so tempted where you might not be able to sleep and then you kind of go, Asher, I'll just go on my phone and have a little look around. Dangerous, because that brings your cortisol levels back up. So get the phones out of your bedroom if you can, if at all you can. And I've written down here, once in bed, even if you can't sleep, don't go back to screens. You know, take a gentle break, have a glass of milk or something and go back to bed. I'm going to finish off now, if it's okay, by this. We, again, have put you in this extremely strange set of circumstances, and I want to try and champion you to get across the line, if that makes sense. And you can be a real champion in this and get across the line. You are going to be probably the only young people in history that have gone through a pandemic doing their junior cert in our lifetime, and most likely in your lifetime too. So you're in this extraordinary situation that we're asking you to be in. And we've got a conversation to make in that, which is, do we jump into bed? Bed being the acronym of BED, B-E-D. Do we jump into blame, you know, I didn't do a good leaving cert because of the pandemic, or make excuses for it, because we certainly can at the moment, and that would be totally justified. I could understand that. Or we get into denial, which is, you know, oh, I don't care, it doesn't matter to me, or something like that. Or can we do what I call the acronym of the metaphor of whitewater rafting with the acronym of OR. We jump into something like whitewater rafting. First of all, it doesn't feel very safe. It's an inflatable boat. I've got a thing about anything that could burst like a boat with an earring can't be safe. But anyway, you get into the madness of what is the river ahead, which can start off nice and calm, and then can all of a sudden be this exhilarating, you know, weirs and etc. of water, that does not feel safe, and in fact can be dangerous because you could get thrown from the boat. And all you're given is a little helmet, a little vest, and an oar. And the acronym of OR is what I want to play with for a moment, because life is not simplistic, and there can be, you know, boulders in the downhill when you're whitewater rafting, and we need to find some way, a method to steer ourselves around the madness. However, I have found with life that actually, if we can steer ourselves through sometimes the madness of life, sometimes the peace and calm, but sometimes the madness, that we get out of the boat exhilarated because we feel like we've really done something. And I want to champion you, if it's okay, to take up our OR, and that is this, the O-A-R of OR, which is, first of all, O for ownership. This, no matter what your school does, your teachers do, or even what we try and do to assist you therapeutically, it's your life, it's your leaving cert, and I'd love for you to give it the best shot, to do everything you can to try and get across the line as best you can. The accountability, or the A for accountability, is to feel like you've got that person you can go to connect with, so that you're not on your own with this. But it's really important for you to feel you've got people you can go to. We want to be that for you in Zest Life, but your teacher, your school have exceptional assistance and programs in place to be able to reach out and care for you, to use them to connect with them as well. That could be your year head, it could be the education department, it could be chaplaincy, it could be all sorts. But please do reach out, because they really, really do care and want to assist you in Wesley. And I also want to just suggest that, as well as the accountability, there's a part of that which is I think the OR is almost like the action part, which is the responsibility, because we all can know all this, but then we have a responsibility to actually do it. And I'd love to try and champion you to say, please give this your best shot. Give it everything you've possibly got. Let's not stay in bed. Let's get out of bed. Let's take up that oar and go for this whitewater rafting journey between now and the leaving cert, when it begins on the 29th of July. And I genuinely can't wish good enough things for you. I hope that it's an amazing journey for you. I hope it goes really well. I hope that you get everything you've ever dreamed of. And I hope it leads into a post-leaving cert, into a college or a career that you're delighted with, and works brilliantly well for you, that excites you and makes all your dreams come true. So thanks so much for listening. If there's anything we can ever do, I'll be delighted to reach and connect with you in any shape or form. God bless you. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye.